ISS. This is Oscar Romeo for ISS. How do you read? Over. Oscar November 4 ISS, this is Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. How do you read? Over. Oscar November 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, I have you loud and clear. Over. Oscar November 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, I have you loud and clear. How me? Over. Yes, I am ready for questions. Over. Hi, Georgina. Being in space has made me really appreciate the beauty of the planet and also the fragility of our atmosphere, which is so important to human life on Earth. And, you know, all the efforts that NASA and our partners have spent looking for habitable planets out in the cosmos, it makes me feel even more special that there is life on Earth. It makes me feel really special. Over. Nancy, and there's so many things. How challenging it can be to live up here, how amazing the planet looks, what we are capable of accomplishing when we work together. And one really interesting thing is the challenges and rewards of being able to float or levitate. You know, it actually adds some real challenges to working and living here, but it also has some really amazing aspects. Over. Tasha, even before COVID-19, we would quarantine before launches so that we don't bring germs up to the space station. And so life up here is still pretty normal, but it makes us really appreciate what everyone is going through down there on Earth with social and physical distancing and how important it is for us to live hygienically. Over. Hannah, we're able to make phone calls. We have a phone system that works through our computers, and we can call them as long as we have a satellite link. And then once a week or so, we're able to have a video conference where we can see their faces and they can see our faces. Good question. That really makes living up here nice since we have to be away from our friends and family for so long. Over. Elena, I don't feel that. In fact, I feel the opposite. Seeing the Earth, you know, I'm aware that there's danger out there, that the open space out here, the vacuum of space, it's hot or cold. You can't breathe out there, and this machine keeps us alive. But looking at Earth and knowing that all the people that I love are down there, except for the crewmates that I love that are up here, it makes me just feel that Earth is protecting us, and we should do all that we can to protect it. It's very special. Over. Hello, that's a great question, and actually it can have an effect on us. And so we have a conference where we talk to our health, medical doctors, and we also talk to our psychological doctors and make sure that our mental health is doing fine. And but honestly, being able to speak with my family is probably the single most important thing to just keeping me centered. It's not even about being happy all the time. It keeps me centered so that I can focus on work when I need to focus on work. But there are lots of different ways, and the most important thing is that we have a variety of tools at our disposal because no one way is going to work for every crew member. Good question. Over. Iris, I would say the hardest is an actual informal requirement that you spend so much time away from your loved ones, your family and friends. That's the hardest. But in terms of the hard brass tacks objectives and training that we do, the toughest thing for me was getting to the level of Russian language proficiency that is required to fly on the space station. I've heard it's the equivalent of taking 4 years of Russian in college and then doing a study abroad for one term. And we usually get to that point in about 2 years. So it was pretty challenging academically. Over. Celeste, not only do I believe that, I'm working to do my part to make sure that that happens. So I hope that if that is a dream of yours, that what we're doing up here today enables you guys to do so in the future. Over. When I was young, I saw a space shuttle launch on television, and that was the beginning of it. And then later, as a professional, I was a pilot going through test pilot school, and I saw one of our few female shuttle commanders, Pam Melroy, who has recently been nominated actually to be our deputy administrator. She was giving a talk at a conference that I went to, and listening to her talk about the amazing technical and operational accomplishments of her crew really had me smitten. But the thing that I remember the most was the way she talked about her crewmates and how much she respected them. And that really is when I decided to apply, and I wound up applying twice to become an astronaut. Over. Emily, we actually can, and so you may not always know it though, because we see storms. You can see storms and lightning from up here, and you can see the big weather phenomena, the entire frontal systems as they move from continent or body of water to body of water, and that's really amazing, and it looks beautiful. But we have to remember that those have effects on the ground. But also, what we can see the most clear, I believe, is the change in water levels. So you can see how the coastlines of lakes and oceans changes. And that is probably the most drastic effect. And this is actually a great vantage point. Low Earth orbit is a great vantage point to see those, because we go over those spaces so often. Over. Mila, the most important skill for an astronaut to master, in my opinion, is adaptability or flexibility. And I think that's challenging because we have to learn lots of skills, and you have to be really good at lots of different things. And in that process, I think it's natural to want to control things, but a very important aspect of being flexible and adaptable is letting go of a little bit of control, knowing you can't always control things, but then using all those skills and training that you have to be able to adapt when the time is right. Over. That's a great question, Marley, and I'm going to kind of change it around on you and tell you that I hope I would never have to. One of my goals with this is to share it with as many people as I can, like what we're doing right now, so that if those things were at risk, I would obviously be able to go and talk about the great benefits of investing in space exploration and how every dollar that we spend turns into $3 to $5 of economic activity. But really, the most important thing that I can do is inspire young people like you to grow up into adults who remember that for the rest of their lives, so that when those things do come, that you would also feel the need to say the same thing. That, to me, is much more important than anything I could ever say. Over. Georgina, that's a great question, and I think the science that we do up here and the outreach and all those things, that's what it's here for. It's there's a saying, off the earth, for the earth. We are absolutely working for humans on the ground, but I think there's also an aspect of the way we live up here as an international crew. We have a very international cadre right now on the space station, and I think that is a sign for people on Earth that we work together with all of our differences, that we can still accomplish amazing things, and I think that's a lesson everyone needs to hear. Over. got to the space station, I felt like my brain was working really hard to find out where I was and where up and down was, and so that has gone away after about a week, and now I feel like I know my way around. Even if I flip upside down, I still know how to get around on the space station, and so that is a really good feeling. Over. Hi, Hannah. Yes, there's day and night. Actually, we call it insolation and eclipse. So we go behind the Earth, and so it blocks the sun, and it becomes dark. And then when we come around the other side and it becomes light again, we actually see that 16 times a day. So we get 16 sunrises and sunsets every day. But what we usually use as our time frame here